So that's stupid. In that 4-year period, I was writing software for submarines, and I didn't even finish high school. Right. So how on earth is this a smart move? At least that's what, in my head, that was what, yeah, it's a business.
It's a business. Education is a business. And when we start looking at it that way, and remember, I come from 2 teachers. Education at that university level is a business. Not only do they do that, but they also throw credit cards in front of you, get you even more in debt. So you have your college loans, you have your credit card debt. Now you're constrained, and now your options seem limited.
Right.
Limited.
Right. And here's the other thing which is interesting is that banking is a very interesting animal, but they use this term that happens after, like, let's say you're in your 20s, you want to have a house, right? I mean, the basic concept of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you study that, is that you have a physiological level you've got to get past first: food, shelter, clothing, right? Otherwise you don't survive. That's simple. When they start talking about shelter, the banks use this word, we all use it, we don't even think about it, and it's called mortgage.
Yes.
Well, I studied French when I was at high school, and I know what the term mortgage is, the translation, direct translation from French to English. Mortgage translates to death contract.
Yes.
So, okay, the banks want you to sign a death contract. So, okay, put 2 and 2 together. At the age of 18, they want you to sign student loans. Then they want you to sign a 30-year death contract. So if you do the math and you add it together, you're not getting out of this racket until you're 60-something.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
If you're lucky. So this is where it gets really weird, because when I was 22, my father passed away. He was a company man, worked for the same company for all of his life, retired at 65, died at 67.
Oh my goodness.
I had to bury him. I had to do the estate. I had to do the whole thing, which for a 22-year-old, I was an only child, so it was all on me. And for a 22-year-old, that was a big awakening, a big maturity awakening of anything. And
responsibility. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But I had the chance afterwards to try to put his estate together and put it all back together again and see his story. You know, the things that he wouldn't have told me as dad.
Yeah.
But, you know, I would have learned understanding him as a friend, but now here I am trying to piece it all together.
Yeah.
And I saw this man who devoted 40 years of his life to the same company, retired at 65, died at 67. I swore right there and then, I am not going to go down that path. That is not me. I will not do that.
Yes.
So it's funny because a few years back, I was speaking at an event in Phoenix to a bunch of financial retirement planners and financial independence people. And I gave the story about why this is messed up, right? And I said that it's not just the US, but it's statistically correct because there've been studies done. The Boeing Corporation did a study about this based on how much they needed to fund their pension program. And the idea was, well, if based on life expectancy, you know, how many years from the point of retirement to the end of somebody's average life do we need to have in the bank to fund their pension? And they did an analysis and they worked out the people who retired at the age of 55 had an average, and this is males, had an average life expectancy of 83, which I looked at that and said, okay, that sounds about right. But then they did a study and they said, if you fast forward that to 65, because we're all being told we live longer or something and we can retire later so we have a better whatever, their average life expectancy was 67, just like my dad. And I looked at it and I went, you're kidding me. This can't be right. These numbers can't be right. But they were. And the thing is that it's been one of these like dark sort of underworld secrets of the internet that this study was ever done, because the banking and financial industry have tried to quash it. But anyway, I was giving
it doesn't serve their
the mortgage,
their
the death contract.
Yeah.
You want them going longer, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm speaking at this event. I brought this topic up and I spoke about it, and everyone's looking at me like, and I thought, okay, this is not gone over well much of retirement planners, you know. Anyway, this lady comes up to me after I'd finished. I was just cleaning up at the podium. She comes up and I'm like, uh-oh, here we go. She's going to have a piece of me. And she comes up and she said, I used to be the CFO at Honeywell. Honeywell's another big defense contractor.
Sure.
And she said, we did the same pension planning studies Boeing did. And I hate to tell you this, but we got the identical same results Boeing got in terms of life. And at that point, I'm like, okay. something's in this. So I went then to the government and I said, okay, what do people live to? What's the actual death, like what's the average life expectancy of an American, US male? I went to the CDC, you know, that agency we love because they, you know, got us through COVID or whatever. And the CDC published this number, and the current number as of 2021, which is the stats they're publishing right now, the average US male life expectancy is 73.5 years. Most people don't know that. 73.5 years. And yet the very same government in another division, another wing, Social Security or whatever, are telling you that you live longer and you should work until you're 67.
It's 70 now.
It's 70 now, right.
70.
So do the math. You're going to live for 3 years? Is that the goal?
Yeah. So they don't want you taking it early because they say you're going to lose money, and you're told that all the time. When reality at 73 and a half, you're not losing money. They're not having to spend as much.
Every single one of my American friends were told this was the plan. This is the game plan. This is what you do. Study hard, graduate, get a good job, work, retire. That's what you're told over and over and over again. And here comes this kid from Australia who says, I didn't do that. It worked out for me. and so I started saying, well, what is the problem here? Well, the problem's very simple. We work to not work. That's the most stupid mission I've ever heard in my life.
That's why I love the Europeans.
Right.
They work to play.
Exactly.
Their whole life is spending time with family, spending time together, enjoying life, and they work just so that they can pay for that. And it's so funny and I think I've said this before, I've surrounded myself with quality people now to the point where I don't need the stuff anymore, the stuff that isn't as meaningful, because I have quality people and I'm fulfilled by that. And spending time with them is the only thing I want. I don't need a thing. I just want to be around the people that I love and the people who respect me and I respect them. So I totally get what you're saying. And then, you know, I have another respect, and I've been watching the millennials. And, you know, at the beginning I was horrified because like I said, I used to work in corporations, and in corporations, when we went to hire, we would call every 2 years somebody leaving a jumper. Oh, they're a jumper. We don't want them. They're not going to stay. Oh, they don't have a mortgage. They don't have kids. We are not going to hire them because they don't have that tie down that we're looking for. I look at millennials. I think they're awesome. They jump every 2 years. I have two of them, two sons, and they jump like every 2 years. And by 18 months, they're like, I got to go someplace else. This is too much, because they're always trying to improve themselves. They're not told what we were told growing up, which is you go to a company, you stay there the whole life, you get the gold watch, you know, you get that party at the end of your life, and then you go have a nice retirement. They are jumping, and I think it's totally brilliant because they're going after their passion, and they're trying to find where they want to be. And while they're doing it, they're discovering, you know, in order for us to know what we do want, we have to understand what we don't want in our life. And that's something that you went through. You were like, nope, don't want that. And you moved in a different direction. I think that's totally brilliant. And the same thing you do at Be Unconstrained.
Yeah. And it's about purpose. Right. Do something with purpose. Do something that you're passionate about. Even if you don't make money at it, who cares? The money will follow you if you don't follow it. I've learned that one the hard way.
Yes. Never chase the money. It will come. Just do what you're passionate about. I promise you.
Be authentic and do what you're passionate about. And I was just going to complete the circle of the story, because before I was telling you when I was in the mid-90s, I was in that recording studio and that band from out of state that I couldn't record. So 2019, I'm in Mexico having some surgery. I got surgery there, and I'm recovering from it. I got nothing to do, so I'm watching YouTube videos. My wife's, you know, in this Airbnb waiting for 6 weeks while I recover. And I'm flipping around and I discover there's some documentary about the studio I used to work at. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And I find out that I look at the timeline and I find out that the band that I was supposed to record was the Foo Fighters.
Oh,
the second album of the Foo Fighters.
Wow.
And I looked at my wife, I was like white, thinking, are you kidding me? And then I realized, you know, I'm not going to live my life in regret. I might have missed that opportunity 25 years before, but I'm still a musician. I still am passionate about this. I still know the technology. And I'm wasting, my daughter had now graduated college, and so she was able to go on her own runway and her own path. And I started realizing, you know what, and my wife was so supportive about this, and I said, I have a mission now. I'm going to build that recording studio and I'm going to get back into that business. And we did. We ended up buying an acre of land in central Mexico. We're building it now. We'll open it next year, and it will be the largest private recording studio in Latin America. And I've spent the last few years traveling around the world, picking up vintage consoles and microphones and all this equipment that has its own story, and it will all reside down there and be available to anybody who wants to come down in a musical utopia and create the best work of their life. And that is my purpose. And that's
beautiful.
People say to me, is that work? That's not work. That's passion. That's purpose. That's who I am. That's who I was raised.
Yes. And when you have passion and purpose, the money comes and you get to do beautiful things for other people. And I could just talk to you forever. Beunconstrained.com. So you could visit Myles, reach out to him if this is resonating with you. We need to continue our conversation because there's just so much more. I have so many more questions for you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I will just say one thing about the Foo Fighters, even though you missed them the first time, the trajectory that you went on is exactly what you were supposed to go on so that you could be right here, right now, sharing the story and building the world's largest studio in Latin America. So it's beautiful. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle with Lori-Ann. I hope we have earned the privilege of your time. Again, I want to thank our guest today, Myles Wakeham. So beautiful, the conversation that we had. We look forward to seeing you next time. Until next time, I am Lori-Ann Casdia. Play a higher role, serve a higher purpose, show up for you, and show up big. Have a great day.